There is no need to fear. You can't run very far. Curiosity's curse has brought you to our home of bizarre. Consider us your friends, or simply your humble guides, as we unlock those doors in which they attempt to disguise. Welcome to a world of ghosts and grays and end of days. Welcome to a house of magic and fairies, all occurring suspiciously close to the fictitious town of Derry. Welcome to the Paranormal Sideshow with your host, John and Stacey Edwards of ParanormalSideshow.com. Hello and welcome to the Paranormal Sideshow. I'm your host, John Edwards, and joined as always by my lovely wife, Stacey.
Hello.
And we are stuffed.
Yes.
Absolutely, positively,
completely
cranberry-faced stuffed. Stacey made a fantastical turkey.
It was really
that was named Frank and walking around as late as Monday. He was 30 pounds and he was delicious.
He was really good.
They're real and they're fabulous. It was the biggest breast.
There's so much turkey left.
It was the biggest breast. It was the best turkey I ever had. It was fantastic.
It was good.
There'll be turkey forever. And let me tell you guys, if you've never had a freshly killed bird, and for all you people out there that listen, all our friends that are vegan I totally apologize. And I will be done talking about the senseless murder of turkeys here shortly. But, to be fair, if you've never been around a turkey, you would probably murder one yourself because I will assure you they will murder you. If getting around a turkey and just say you're on your hands and knees and you're in a turkey pen. Not that there's a turkey pen. They kind of just float around a little bit. But if you're in there, they will totally eat you like a hog. So I am a Southern boy. I know certain things, but I didn't know that one until I came to Maine.
I see.
Did not know that one at all until the guy who gives me the turkey, the big 30-pound freshly killed turkey, good friend of mine, he let me know in his lovely Mainer way, with his lovely Mainer accent, in between praising Tom Brady and, the Pats in general and good brewed beers, home brewed beers, whatever. I don't know. Whatever Mainers talk about. I don't really understand them. I just kind of nod and tell them what to do.
Kind of like what they do when we talk.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't understand what we're saying.
Could you please pull forward? I just wanted a bacon, egg, and cheese. Could you please pull forward, sir? Did you say you wanted a sweet tea? We don't have sweet tea. What's wrong with you? Yeah, it's getting better though. I mean, we've been up here for 2 years.
Yeah.
I don't have any problem now. So I've got some bastardized version. As we talked about, we got the one email comment about our accents.
Yeah.
They're like, where are you from?
Yeah, what exactly is that accent?
It's so funny. Thanksgiving's been wonderful. You're going to be a little upset, though.
Why is that?
Just trust me. As we were sitting around earlier today trying to figure out something to do, right?
Right.
We missed the Mystery Science Theater Turkey Day Marathon.
Oh, I can't believe we forgot about that.
I know.
I love that thing.
And of course, it would have Manos, the Hand of Fate. And
I'm sure it had all the great ones.
Oh, yeah. A few of those. What's the one you like so much? The one that's got the girl that dies and then she's back?
Oh, my gosh. The space one. I can't remember what it's called right this second.
I can't remember that either. I cannot believe I can't remember what that's called. It has an actress that is playing throughout the movie and she dies in the movie. And then the next scene, she's working at a computer.
And they're like, it was nice of them to let that dead girl back in.
It's a Mystery Science Theater. The best thing in the world. And I've been really happy lately because they have started doing a wrestling podcast and it's called What Happened When. I will plug it with Conrad Thompson and the voice of my childhood, Tony Schiavone. He did the Georgia Top Wrestling and WCW later on, but he did Crockett Wrestling. Anyway, they've got a podcast where they kind of riff over old pay-per-views and stuff.
Right.
So
right.
if you have the WWE Network for $9.99, you can actually, you know, watch one of those, and they tell you when to push play.
Right.
And they riff over it, which was an idea I had for us doing like shows where we did that over anything.
Right. Right. We've talked about that.
Yeah, because we are like we are right now all the time. And normally it's when we're watching something, you can't hear anything in the room because we're just sitting there the whole time, like
making fun of what's on.
Yeah. Like obviously not classically trained, you know, actor here.
Right.
No, it's a really fun thing to do. Well, before I plug myself, that sounds horribly uncomfortable. It does. Well, it depends on where you're at and what kind of mood you're in. I want to talk about my friend Chase Owens again.
Oh, okay.
And he's recently released episode 2 of his vlog, chronicling his journeys around the world, mostly Japan. And, you know, he's in the Bullet Club in pro wrestling. I was very instrumental in the very early days of his career, and then got to work with him later on as he made a name for himself. And then he just blossomed and flew away like they all do. And he, you know, is working now in Japan. Talk to him every day. Love the guy. I just wanted to say Thrill of the Chase on YouTube. Look it up. And if you like wrestling or you like Japanese people, either way, you're going to be entertained. You know, it's just a chronicle of something that not everybody gets to do every day.
Right.
And, you know, with talking with him, he's like, you know, what would people like to see on here? And I'm like, well, casual people who aren't wrestling fans would like to see Japanese culture, the differences, you know, what it's like, how you do it, where you go eat, what you eat when you're there. I mean, just things like that. You know, I love that stuff.
Oh, yeah, me too.
So
like the behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah, the vlog has no wrestling, and which makes it better. Right. Because it should just be about the journey. I mean, there are shots of them like backstage, like here and there, just quick shots. Right. But that just makes it that much more interesting. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And speaking of vlogs, there is the vlog of ours. Yes. Which is Till Death. Of course, because we're clever. And it's a clever name. It is a clever name. Because we're stuck with each other until death. I wouldn't say stuck. Well, stuck in a good way. Okay. I'll take that. Anyway, like the guy hanging off the construction equipment with the crazy glue. Oh, with the hat? With the hat. You know what always bothered me about that? Yeah. How did he stay in the hat? Exactly. Yes, it bothered me too. Like he's kind of holding on to it, but I'm like, no, dude, like, you're not stuck. Like, okay? Like how did you not die just now with a broken neck? Because you're obviously got it around your throat, you know. It's like they didn't think that one all the way through. So speaking of our vlog, the Till Death vlog, sorry, you gotta watch. Our minds will just go anywhere. The Till Death vlog, we haven't done it in about a month. Right. And we had all kinds of great things planned of places to go, like October Mountain and all these good things. Still going to get around to everything we were going to get around to, but every now and then life happens. I will say this about the Till Death vlog. Thank you everyone on YouTube, because we have broken the milestone of 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. And I mean, we have videos with like 80,000 hits. Or 80,000 views. We have videos with 5 views. And so we're looking to get more into that, and we love doing it. But really, over the past month, there has been unforeseen circumstances that have happened, and we haven't let the podcast suffer from that. Right. But with the vlog, you know, there's been some things happen. I honestly struggled with not wanting to put on the vlog. And there's some things going on that's not serious, not in the serious nature. Nobody's dying. Our family is very close, very tight. But we have had things with our daughter, Ariana, that has come up that she's having to deal with. And it's not something I'm completely sure it's her choice. You know, I'm not completely sure that I even want to deal with that on the vlog. And like I said, nobody's dying, anything like that. It's a situation. It's something we're having to deal with. Other than that, I have a very, as I've chronicled, I have a very high stress, high output job that sometimes has me going 80 hours a week. And it's just been, you know, aside from showing you the 4 hour in the car going to one of my stores, you know, it's just been one of those deals. And we put so much into what we do here. with the research of the stories, and we have other projects going on in the paranormal that we have been working on and having calls about weekly. You know, there's a lot going on, and basically not really to the point where I'm comfortable enough thinking that you guys would be happy just seeing us cooking turkey. So, you know, I try to make it fun. We try to make it fun. We try to find cool legends and whatnot to go take you on with us and give you a really glimpse into what it is when we are doing that.
Right.
Now, we do have plans to expand as time goes on. And of course, with any kind of show, you get more invested with the people you're watching,
right,
with the vlogs, you know, and where it gets to a point where you're happy seeing what they do every day. But just right now, it's the showman in me. I really like to build a story. It comes from pro wrestling. It comes from everything I've done. I like to build a story. I like to introduce characters, and I like to get you to know them while they're doing something you enjoy and you want to watch before I show you Stacy brushing her teeth. You know, as much as I would love to film that.
As fascinating as that is.
Yeah, just wanted you guys to know it is not slowing down. We're going to be doing it, having fun, taking you on adventures and all that good stuff. And like I said, the number one thing for us is always the podcast. We don't want that to suffer whatsoever because there's too much news. It's important to get out to you guys. As many jokes as we make, it is very important work to us because, you know, I told Stacy earlier today, the reason that I'll never stop doing the podcast, the reason that we've been doing the podcast since 2010, started thinking about doing it in 2009, was because I didn't have a one-stop shop for me to go find all the kind of stories I wanted to listen to, all the things I wanted to hear discussed. There were other paranormal type podcasts, but when we started doing this, there was like one that was regular.
Right.
And, you know, there wasn't really one news one really. And other than that, it was hit or miss. Someone would do one for a couple of months. And so we got it on iTunes in 2010, and Google Play. We had a lot of exposure because of that, because of the app we originally had. And we loved doing it. Made so many friends across the world doing this, friends that we still have that 7 years later doing this show. And we felt that after having, you know, so many years of research, you know, a lot of which we had to learn ourselves from 97. And it's funny because also I was talking about something like this with one of my friends today. He was asking me about another podcast. And and with no disrespect, I was like, you know, I try not to listen to too many others because I don't want to be influenced.
Right.
I like doing it the way we do it. I like doing it the way we've always done it. And it's the format that has sort of, it happened just from doing it. It you know,
kind of evolved
organically.
Right.
And it just happened that way. And I do, you know, from time to time, especially, you know, if there's a friend on one or if I have a friend that has one, I like to check it out. And, but really we spend so much time looking for stories. And when we find a story, spend time trying to find out if it's legit or, you know, where it's from and things like that. So little explanation world here for you guys. And the big thing right now is I want to say hello to everyone on Spotify.
Yes.
We got a lot, like our views, they've went up tremendously since we started doing it as Paranormal Sideshow, which it'll always be Paranormal Sideshow. It's what we wanted to start with because we've always liked the dark carnival steampunk world.
Right.
And that's kind of who we are. Our world is, you know, eventually we'll have old sideshow things all through our house. That's just who we are. And especially with my carny existence before with the pro wrestling and the music and, you know, that kind of thing. That's just what I like, man. We're gypsies that are, I mean, I keep a really good job, but every time something comes up to move, we're like, oh, hey, Alaska, hell yeah, let's do that.
We've never lived there before.
And that's just how we are. We don't hold on to possessions. We are always ready to go.
Right.
And, you know,
our house always looks like we just moved in.
Yeah, always. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I could buy all new furniture in the house. And I don't mean that as a, you know, some kind of like, oh, I got so much. No, it's not like that. It would be on credit, but I do have the credit and I could put all new furniture in here that I'm buying. But I don't do that, man. We rent it, whatever, by choice, you know, because I like to be ready to move. I like to be, and it's good for business because when it's time to move up, there's the guy that's got the like 10-year lease or just bought his house, and and then there's me.
Right.
And they're like, well, John's ready to go.
Yeah.
Let's give him a chance.
John's second car is a moving truck.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I mean, I should probably invest in one, to be honest with you. So, I mean, back to what we were talking about here to start with, TikTok is the very fact we're on Spotify now.
Yes.
And I am very excited. I mean, I know that a couple of my friends have already followed us on Spotify who listen to us in other ways.
Oh, cool.
But there's a lot of people I know that just have the subscription to Spotify, and I think it's neat. I think that it's going to really, when we went to iHeartRadio, our views went up, our listens went up tremendously.
Yes, iHeartRadio. A lot of people listen on iHeartRadio. And the thing I like about Spotify is Spotify's kind of new to podcasts.
Yes.
I mean, they have quite a few, but
Right.
there's not a lot of paranormal ones on there yet.
We're third
So
when you put in paranormal. So I thought that was pretty cool.
yeah, it actually comes up when you put paranormal in.
Yeah, there
Imagine
you go.
That.
So somebody will write a letter to iTunes because you cannot find us just when you type in paranormal.
Even though paranormal's in the title.
And back when we had Haunted South, it was right there at the top every time. And granted, we built up to Haunted South where, we would have an episode and it would have 100,000 downloads, right off the bat. Third Side never got that out level, but Third Side, we were kind of out in a weird place.
Yeah, that one was a weird show.
Well, yeah, by design, by design. And it was a video show you could still find on YouTube. So, that was a lot of fun. But with Sideshow, it was exactly what we always wanted to do. Stacy and I doing it on our own. And, we were like, you know what? We're going to build this. We're going to build it and do it the way we want to do it. Talk about the things we want to talk about and get there with the news that we want to cover. And it's got up to the point where we're pretty damn happy with what we got. So as always, you can find all that at ParanormalSideshow.com. That's your address to find everything John and Stacy. Facebook.com/Paranormal Sideshow. A whole lot of John, a little bit of Stacy. On the Twitter, it's at Sideshow97. That's mostly Stacy acting like John. Instagram, Hot Stacy Dam. It's John and Stacy Edwards. On YouTube.com/Paranormal Sideshow. That's where you find that mythical beast known as Till Death. And why is that named that?
Because we'll be together
forever.
You make it sound creepy like that.
We'll be together forever, and ever, and ever, and ever. And also, no matter how you listen, no matter how you enjoy it, if you enjoy it in the car, if you enjoy it in the bed, if you enjoy it in the shower, you may wind up dead because it'll get electrocuted. Will iPhones electrocute you? I know it'll kill the iPhone.
Yeah.
I don't think. No, never mind. You're not gonna die then. Just play it from lay it down somewhere outside the shower and play it really loudly. However you like to listen, that's where we're at. We're always watching you, and we love you so much. So if you go to iTunes, subscribe. Leave us a little note there about how much you like it. Google Play, I don't care what you leave there because I don't own anything droid related. So you could just put this show sucks as much as you want. We would never know. We would never know. Stitcher, iHeartRadio. Like I said, we've got a lot of new listeners from iHeartRadio. We're really excited about the Spotify deal because I think that'll take it to even a new level. So yeah, we still don't ask for money. And we still don't pitch 45 other shows. And, like I said, I don't listen to anything else. So I don't know if anybody else does that at all. But when I have tried listening in the past, it's always like, I've told you before, the obligatory 2 minutes of licensed music they shouldn't be able to play.
I'm serious. Nothing beats that one show you listened to where it was the intro for like 20 minutes.
Usually when I listen to it, it's like a very long intro. Then it's like, welcome to After Dark Paranormal Pie-Phage Love Affair, or whatever, with your host, the illustrious, world-famous, convention-traveling, never done a damn thing, never drew a dime, whatever, then their name, Tommy Two-Tone or whatever, and they come on there, and then they, for like 10 minutes, they're pitching, if you want to listen to Tommy Two-Tone After Dark, you can become a Tommy Two-Tone member for $5.99 an hour. And if you want to check out this, then do this, and you know what? Like I was talking to Stacy the other day and I was like, should we do something for like our members, or should we have members? I mean, should we do this? Should we do something like where people get something special, like a special podcast or a copy of the book, which is actually done? It's just sitting in wait. Should we send them like a signed copy of a bunch of printed papers or, because like here it is in lieu of hardcovers. I didn't know. I was like, should we do something like that? And she's like, you said you'd never charge. And I'm like, I did say I would never charge, but do people want that? The only thing I can say is we thought about making an actual T-shirt for the Sideshow Offs, which is what I've named you all. And
named our listeners.
I could lie about it and say, hey, somebody got a hold of me and called himself a Sideshow Off. And I thought it was cool. So no, I totally made it up the other day and I thought, hey, that's cute. So from now on, the fan club is the Sideshow Offs. I might do the old school fan club thing like we did with the band.
There you go. Join the fan club. Yeah, just to have a sticker.
The mailing list, and we'll get some stickers and give those away free with an order of a T-shirt. And I'll give you a signed 8x10 of Stacy naked.
No, you won't.
Okay. Well, I'll give you a signed 8x10 of Stacy in clothes, and you just have to do the rest for yourself. So, I don't know. Somebody get a hold of me. Let me know. And I like doing this out of the love in my heart for what I believe in. And that's getting you guys some wacky news, a few laughs, a peek inside of our lives. And the fact of us just doing this because we love doing it. And hopefully we can do that, rent free for as long as we can. Cause man, these are tough times. So speaking of tough times, it's about time for some paranormal. And let me just say, holy bejesus, is this week's news good? Paranormal news.
All right, let's get to the news.
Let's.
All right, so this first story is one that you have talked about on numerous occasions, the mysterious booms.
This is something that I have talked about going back, again, Haunted South sighting here, going back to Haunted South Paranormal Podcast, 2010. I did an episode entitled Mysterious Booms, brought a MUFON guy on and talked about it, and brought other guests on and always talked about the mysterious booms. I've had 3 episodes devoted to mysterious booms in the course of our different shows that we have done.
Right.
Because this bothers me. It bothers me from the boom aspect of it and the sky chariots, whatever. When you listen to it, it's like screeching weirdness in the sky. And, I have some stories about this. I'll let you get into these stories because it's happening again. Not that it ever stopped, but there's upticks to this.
Oh yeah.
So
absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. This is my passion. This one is my top passion.
And it's funny because we have all these stories from this year, but we hadn't really been covering stories like this because it seemed like it had dropped off in how often it was happening. And then all of a sudden it's just huge upswing of reports of mysterious booms.
It's like there's boom flaps like UFOs.
Exactly. And so the reason I pulled this story is because of the boom in Alabama, which they're nicknamed the Bama Boom. There actually has been one since then in Colorado. I think that's the most recent.
Yeah, the Bama Boom, though, made the most news.
Right. There was tons of articles about it.
Mainstream. And when that happens, I think people start noticing the others.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And you notice on all the news things that the first thing they're doing is they're checking with the Geological Society. Was there an earthquake?
Air Force bases. They check all the military bases. They check a geological survey.
All that. And I know the one in Alabama, the USGS, they picked it up, but they said, hey, there wasn't an earthquake.
Right.
We don't know what that was. So that one was really odd, and there's still not an explanation for it. Now, I know that this most recent one in Colorado, they actually have come out with a reason for it.
Yeah.
Because it was one of the ones that happened early in the morning. It was a loud boom. Some houses shook. It was kind of just in this general area. And so I looked at this new article, and what they said was the Colorado Oil and Gas Conservation Commission claimed that there was an overpressuring event involving an empty storage tank.
Right.
Where the pressure built up and it popped the lid off of one of their storage tanks, and it made this huge bang. And that's their explanation.
Okay.
Now, I mean, it's a
viable explanation.
It is. Now, I know some of the residents of the area claim that they don't feel like that justifies the amount of noise and the shaking.
Right.
But I've never experienced something like that, so I don't know.
Yeah, it's one of those, you got to throw it out.
Yeah, because
if there is
because there was something that happened that could possibly have made a loud noise.
Exactly. So, there's enough of these that don't have an explanation.
Right. So that was just the most recent one. Now, I actually have an article that lists all these reports from 2017. It's 2 pages long.
Right.
It's like 60, 70, something like that. I don't remember what the number was, but I will put a link to this because you can actually look, and it lists all of the major mysterious boom reports. It even has the one on here from April from Maine.
April 9th. And there's an interesting story to this.
Yes.
Can I get into that now?
Go right ahead. Go ahead.
So April 8th, we went and took promo pics in Salem, and it's the one that's actually the cover of what you're listening to right now. That was done April 8th. Fun trivia fact.
Yes, that's actually like the oldest cemetery in Salem, Massachusetts. That picture's taken in.
Right. And April 9th, we were at a place called Old Orchard Beach, and we walked the beach. We went under the pier. We
had some pier fries.
We ate some amazing pier fries that if you're ever at Old Orchard Beach in Maine, holy crap, go eat pier fries.
Yes.
So then we went home, and I was upset because Mercury was going into retrograde, and it always screws up my life whenever that happens. So we were sitting around, and let me just describe this. We are on the same grid as the governor of Maine, and we are, a couple houses down, basically.
Yes.
And we're on this main grid, main grid.
Yeah, the same as the power company.
So we never lose power. We are on the same as the power company. It has been maybe twice, even during big, huge storms, which you get a lot of big, huge storms here. We are right beside the river. And so we hear the ships all night and all this stuff. We hear things pretty well inside our house. But the thing was, that night, we lost power at 10 o'clock. And I actually commented on it, on Facebook about, damn it, Mercury, and I knew you were coming.
Right.
But I don't know. We could have been watching anything. We could have been watching fighting. I tend to turn the TV up really loud. So if something happens, I'm not going to know about it.
Right.
As a rule. But anyway, I didn't know about this mysterious boom.
No.
So we were researching for the show, and I seen that Augusta, Maine was one of the ones that was, under the gun. Went and looked up the story, and around 9:30 p.m. on April 9th, there was reports of a mysterious boom.
Right.
And they have not been figured out to this day.
Right.
And then at 10 o'clock, the power went out. Now, again, in a place where my power doesn't go out.
Right. And there was no storms or anything that night.
No explanation to that. And they actually, the funny thing is, they've tried to put us some explanations, like something in this town called Pittsfield, which is honestly 30 some miles away, 40 some miles away. No way it was that, and a couple other little frivolous things that there's no way that's what it was. But the weird thing for me, just from being a UFO guy, is you have the weird stuff going on, and then you have the lights go out, or even from, are they testing something they're not trying to tell us about?
Right.
Is it some type of HARP? Because
it could be anything.
I found another video from Augusta from back in the end of 2016, around August, and it was also at the river. And the weird thing was, it was those sky, I don't like to call them sky trumpets, because to me it doesn't sound like that. It sounds like if God had some heavy machinery.
Or if he's scratching his fingernails down the chalkboard.
Yeah, I mean, it's, and the weird thing is, there's a cadence to it, and I swear it's doing this, it's almost doing a loop. And I don't, it's like, I mean, and as funny as that is, that's kind of what it sounds like. And it's eerie. It is scary. It is overpowering. And I can only relate it to, have you ever been outside and a very large plane goes over, a military C-130 or something, flying kind of low, that's not normally something that happens, and you just get this ominous feeling that it's bigger than you. It's something that is so much, there's so much to it. Or when you get near a large plane or a large vehicle, you get that weird feeling, like, wow, I'm not in control here.
Right.
And that's that ominous feeling that I get when I hear these. And I believe it's a different phenomena, although maybe related to the mysterious booms. But they all get thrown in together. And it's so odd because we don't have explanations. And folks, this is happening all over the world. It is happening every corner of the United States. And the thing is, there are local news looking into this all over. And I've talked about before, I love the local news because the local news still tries to figure stuff out. And, the local news is covering it. What you're not seeing it on is the NBC Nightly News, CNN. When Clayton Morris is at Fox News, you would see it there. But he's not there anymore.
I noticed that a lot of the Fox News channels, local ones, were the ones that would carry these more weird often than not.
For whatever reason. But, it's very strange, people. And have you experienced this? Have you heard this? Has this happened in your town? Did they ever give you an explanation? I have seen foundations cracked on houses, and they said there was no earthquake. That happened in Tennessee, I believe in Greenville, Tennessee, a couple of years back. There has been so much to this, and chronicling this for as long as I have now, for 7 years, I've seen it happen over and over and over, and it always gets forgotten. It's like everybody has an uproar. Twitter explodes locally, and people talk about it. They have a news story the next day. Maybe 3 days later, they have a follow-up with Julie. Julie hasn't had no leads, but she's talked to all the military bases and everything, and they say they have no idea, and that's it. We forget it.
Yeah, and then you don't hear about it again.
We go on. What else have you found there?
Well, this particular article that I have just has a list of a lot of the reports from 2017, and something that I thought was really kind of odd. Now, I'm not saying that this is a complete list. I believe that they've just pulled some, but these are from all over the world. They've even put some on here that they had the causes of, like, there's one in March in Virginia that actually was caused by an earthquake. And so that they put that on here, that it was caused by an earthquake. But there's like a ton of reports in January, and then it kind of slacked off in February and started picking back up. But after May 30th, there's not another report until September. So like June, July, August, nothing. But then September, there was a few, more in October, and now in November, there's been a ton. So it was almost like they took the summer off.
Well, when you listen to it, when you listen to a video, and you can find all this on YouTube, search this, dive down this rabbit hole, and you can find raw video from people who have recorded these weird booms. When you hear the booms, sometimes it sounds like a tribal drum, except it's so much bigger. And it's hard to really describe it unless you listen to it. And you would think there was a dump truck down the street that was having boulders dropped in the back of it. That would give you that idea. But there's no explanation for that. That's not happening when this happens. So what is happening? And, it goes out there to people want to jump to aliens. People want to jump to, global warming. People want to jump to these things. I've thought about
conspiracy theories.
Yeah. I mean, I've thought about underground things. I've thought about, are they doing something underground? But it's too wide of a reach. Something
it could be as simple as the earth is just changing. And it's making noise, but I mean, I don't know. There's tons of explanations.
It's almost to me, and I'm going to go out on a very, very fringe ledge.
Okay.
it sounds to me like a bleed through. Mm-hmm. It sounds to me as a dimensional bleed through.
It's very possible.
And it's almost like if the dimensions were like tectonic plates and they were rubbing against each other, they were sometimes coming through. And what kind of sound would that make atmospherically?
Right.
What kind of effect would that have? What are we hearing? We had the floating cities in China, and in a couple of other places. There's been the floating cities, the illusion or whatever. But when you look at it, it looks like medieval cities,
right?
And it looks like stone masonry in the sky. It's a hell of an illusion if that's it. And for anything like that, when it happens, I don't know. I never believe what the quick explanation is, because it just doesn't happen every day.
Right.
And, it doesn't happen enough. It's kind of like ball lightning. It's strange, man. It's like that lake that has the orbs that fly up. You know what I'm talking about. And I wish I could remember the name of it, because I should, being in this field. I usually know until right now.
Until you didn't want to know.
Yeah, but people like clockwork can go watch those orbs fly up, and it's just like, oh yeah, it's just natural, fish farts or whatever.
Swamp gas.
Yeah, swamp gas, right? This I implore you to go research this. Watch some of these raw videos for yourself. Tell me what you think. Leave us comments. Send me messages. Tell me what you believe or what you've heard, or get the word out. Share these videos. Ask questions. That's the most important thing, is ask your local, city, state government to give you answers. If this has happened in your neighborhood, don't let up on it, because there is something going on. Granted, they don't know either.
Right.
But I can tell you this much, and this is a point that I've made in the past. We have some very intelligent scientists who, if anything at all changes with our environment or what, they're right on it. They are there with teams. Don't think they're not. And they are always monitoring these things, because why wouldn't you?
Right.
If you were in charge
if that was your job.
If you were in charge of a country and things were happening that you could not explain, especially when we don't exactly make friends throughout the globe very often, you're going to research that. You're not just going to be like, nah, we don't need to worry about that. I know they've researched it.
Right.
I know that if they haven't told us what it is, it's because they're having that oh crap thing happen.
Right.
It's if they haven't explained, and I always use the lipstick on the collar. If I come home and I've got the lipstick on the collar, you ask me about it, and I'm just like, you know what? Nobody understands what that is. We haven't really figured it out yet. I've asked a lot of people. I've asked around. When you do that, but it's on your collar, and you know what it is. Right.
Well, it's like the sound in Colorado. Look, it's been a couple of days. They've already told us what it was.
Exactly.
Because it was something explainable that was easy to explain. So they just went ahead and told you. They didn't just like blow it off or act like they didn't know.
And there's been others that have been explained. When they're not explained, that freaks me out.
Right.
And there is a lot of these that have not been explained. I'm not going to belabor the point anymore. I'm just telling you all, as someone who sees weird and looks for weird at all times, this one has bothered me since day one, because the lack of BS explanations. Right. That bothers me, that they just don't talk about it.
Yeah. They didn't even put the effort forward.
At least when they shift off the ISS cam, when the Romulan ship appears right in front of the International Space Station, and they all of a sudden shift over and start showing some guy trimming his mustache
in the control room.
At least at that point, I feel okay. I do. I'm like, well, okay, the Romulans are in our atmosphere, but we obviously know about it. We have it under control.
Yes, they're trying to hide it from us, but they're on top of it.
They're on top of it. They're giving us some BS excuse. I'm completely happy with that. When they just go silent, I can only relate that to...
They have no idea what's going on.
You're looking over and your significant other has a weird look on their face. You could tell they're upset, right? You could tell that it's not that you've done something, okay? Or there's something up. And you might be like, honey, yes. Is everything okay? Do you want to tell me, well, what's going on? What? No, nothing's going on. But you know something's going on because you can see it and you can hear it and you can feel it. That is those times that it really freaks me out, dudes. So get on this one, check it out, and we'll link whatever we can on paranormalsideshow.com.
Yes.
But yeah, it's an uptick. And hey, stick your head out the window every now and then and just listen.
Turn the TV down every now and then. Maybe you'll hear some booms.
It happened in my town and I missed it.
I know.
The power went out and I missed it.
I know.
All right.
Well, let's move on to this next story. This one is really interesting. And you'll have to just kind of follow me on this one. I'm going to kind of walk you through it. This is about the mystery aircraft that was spotted over Oregon. Mm-hmm. Okay, so have you heard anything about this story?
I mean, I have, yeah. Okay. Absolutely. It's all over. It's been, I mean, in our world, in our bubble, it's been all over our bubble.
Right. So it actually happened on October 25th, and there was a mystery aircraft that was flying during daylight hours among the steady stream of airliners, you know, just regular air traffic between California and Nevada and over like Portland and Seattle, things like that, right?
Right.
So I've got this article here where this guy kind of walks through sort of what happened, and nobody can really tell what this aircraft was. They don't know what the aircraft was.
Wow.
Like nobody could identify it. It wasn't tracked on radar. Like they couldn't track it on radar. They were basically
they couldn't see it on radar.
As far as I can tell, that's what they're saying. They actually had to use pilot eyewitnesses to follow it, like they were radioing them. So this particular article, he starts out by talking about the incident, how it started around 4:30, and he came across this Reddit thread,
right,
where supposedly one of the pilots went on there and was posting, and he was talking about they were overhearing Seattle Center attempting to track an airplane with no transponder that wasn't talking.
Wow.
And a handful of crews, they were able to track it visually. And the best that they could tell was about 35,000 to 37,000 feet. It was northbound. And nobody was really close enough to see the type of aircraft.
Right.
So the last thing that this poster supposedly heard was that they scrambled some fighters out of Portland International Airport and sent them out to go take a peek just to see what it was. Because, you know, that's security issue. I mean, security. Yeah. So in this particular article, it's actually pretty cool because he has some links for the archived radio transmissions. Oh, wow. Some of them, not all of them, but some of them. And you can actually listen to them talking back and forth about them trying to track this particular aircraft. So definitely check out this link and start listening to that. He even explains in the article where to listen to the best part and all that stuff.
Gives a lot of validity to it.
Yeah. So then they went and they inquired with like the Portland airport and with the 142nd Fighter Wing that's based out of the airport, the ones that scrambled the fighters to go up and take a peek. They asked NORAD and the FAA. They just wanted to know, hey, is this real?
What did NORAD say?
This really happened. Well, NORAD actually replied pretty quick. They said there was an incident involving multiple airline crews, air traffic control, some F-15Cs from the fighter thing. And they basically said that the pilots were asked by the FAA to help track and possibly identify a white aircraft traveling in the nearby flight levels. And they also said that the incident resulted in the F-15s being scrambled to investigate, but that they couldn't find the aircraft. So they basically corroborated the story as they knew it already. But the FAA wasn't as forthcoming. It took them a long time to answer. They acknowledged that it happened, but that they didn't have any further information to add to what they already knew. And the 142nd Fighter Wing, they didn't respond to the inquiry at all. So a little note that they put in this article too was they were talking about the F-15Cs that were sent up to supposedly find this mystery aircraft that they didn't know what it was. And he mentions that this aircraft is actually has the most capable air-to-air radar. Like they are fully equipped with the newest, most amazing equipment, you know, because they're Homeland Security, basically. And that it was that he felt like it was kind of disturbing that they went up in the air and they couldn't find this aircraft.
It's extremely disturbing.
Like it's odd. It's odd. So
the eyewitnesses, let's take this down a notch.
Okay.
So the eyewitnesses see no markings on the plane?
No, none of them could get close enough to really identify. All they said is it looked like a white aircraft. I believe the first poster that was on Reddit, the pilot, I think he assumed that maybe it was like a drug runner, something like that, something. But
I thought somebody said this was like a 737. Like it was a large.
I didn't see anything that said they could tell what kind of aircraft it was. But the weird thing about it was daytime. And you wouldn't do something like that, illegal like that, in the daytime up where everybody else
especially
is flying.
going toward Canada.
Right.
I mean, what do they need? Canadians are perfect. Especially the French Canadians, which is the right direction that it seems like it was going.
Well, to make it a little stranger, there is on the same thread, this Reddit thread, another poster came on and posted some interesting information. Now, this information couldn't be verified, this other information, but he talked about being an air traffic controller working in that area. And he verified that, this happened and that the F-15s were trying to find it and they couldn't find it. And he said that their QA department was working on it and they got a call from the commander of the 142nd Fighter Wings and at the Portland airport and was basically told to knock it off, that they don't know anything about it, to quit looking into it. And that was it.
That's a real story that I seen that somewhere else as well. The knock it off thing.
Yeah. So that was just in this article, that was just part of that Reddit thread, but there's links for all that stuff. So who knows? They still don't know what it is. And the other Reddit guy, he actually said that when the F-15s were sent out, that they were actually sent in the wrong direction. And that's why they didn't find anything.
Huh.
So that's a little unusual, I think.
It's all unusual.
Yeah, the whole thing's really strange.
The radar part would be the strangest.
Right.
I mean, we're not talking about a blackbird or something. It's we would know what that was, and they would say experimental aircraft. They would say, this is government. This is
right. Like, I didn't understand why they weren't able to. I mean, I know he didn't have it. I don't know that much about airlines, but I know they don't have. It said they weren't talking. They didn't have a transponder, but you would think that they'd still be able to, get a line of sight on it.
The first thing I thought about was Janet. The Janet Airlines is the plane that takes the employees for Area 51.
Right.
From Las Vegas into Area 51.
Right.
It's a white plane with a red stripe. And, I see it in my dreams.
Right. Well, but why would it be flying to Canada?
It wouldn't. I'm just saying similarities of something, there are airlines out there that we like to keep private.
True.
But, you can pick up Janet on radar and or the Janet Airlines. It's just strange. The radar thing's strange. The stand down is strange. The whole thing just stinks to high heaven. And I would like to know more about it. And I'm not a fan of not getting information when I live in an area that's supposed to be free.
Right.
And we're not supposed to have that type of thing happening. I mean, unless it's something, unless they come out and say, look, this is something we can't let out for national security reasons.
Right.
At least say that.
Yeah. I mean, people would understand that.
They do. They tend to understand the truth.
Right.
And, this is something I tell people all the time. I had a discussion the other day with one of my employees. And I said, look, I was letting them know that they weren't up to my standards. They weren't up to stuff. They weren't there yet. But I was very honest with it.
Right.
And he really appreciated that. And he's like, I really like the fact I know where I stand with you. Because you don't always get that with people. People are wishy-washy. People are afraid to tell you. But it's just the truth. And because of always going that direction, people are more apt to be okay with what you're saying because you're not trying to BS them. And I think every one of us would rather not be BS'd.
Exactly.
And this is one of those things I feel like they know. They have to freaking know, right? If they don't know, then it should be a huge international incident considering the tensions we have right now with Russia, with North Korea, with these countries, with freaking terrorists on domestic soil. you would think that a plane would be a giant red flag.
Right. Well, it says in this article that not only could it not be tracked on radar, but it also didn't show up on the digital traffic collision avoidance systems. It's the things the planes have so they don't run into each other.
Yeah.
And I think that's really weird. Like you would think any kind of plane would have that system.
So how long did they see this plane?
It was a lot of different crews.
From where to where?
I believe that it started around the California-Oregon borders where it started, and it was heading north, I guess, towards Canada. The last person that saw it, I think, was landing in Washington somewhere, and they were the last ones to have, see it. Like nobody deviated from their flight plan to follow it.
What made these people notice that it was odd?
Because it didn't. Probably because it didn't show up on their systems.
Okay.
And when you're a pilot, that.
So it was all pilots that noticed.
Yeah, it was all pilots in there, and they're all radioing to the Seattle Center, and they're saying, "Hey, there's this plane. It's probably." Maybe it was in their way. I didn't listen to all the transmissions. So
there are so many stories. Like I would love to have a pilots anonymous where pilots safely could go and not have their IP tracked just to tell their stories.
Right.
Because pilots, they lose their jobs and they're warned to not talk about certain things. There is famous UFO stories. The one with Japan and seeing the UFO right in front of them and
all the times that the airports get shut down. And then they're told not to say anything and all that.
Not to say anything. And with a pilot, I mean, you don't want to lose your job. You don't want to be blackballed. You don't want to be pigeonholed as to being the crazy guy or whatever. And you don't say anything. You report it to who you think you should report it to.
Right.
But so you don't normally hear, what I'm trying to say is you don't normally hear about these things.
Right.
So I know they happen because years later you get whistleblowers and they seen UFOs and they're like, well, they told us not to say anything. We don't say anything. It's kind of an unwritten rule or a written rule in an unknown book, but you don't get these stories very much. So it was very odd, very strange. Was it a ghost plane? I mean, was it a plane that had crashed and everybody's seen a ghost plane? I don't know.
That would be weird though, for all those different people.
It would be weird
to see it,
but why not?
Yeah, true. I mean, it's just as good an explanation as anything else.
I mean, there's ghost cars, or it's another dimensional bleed through.
I mean, anything. Yeah.
More and more, these type of weird things are happening, and maybe some of the things they're doing with the Large Hadron Collider are really screwing up. Maybe that's the reason I hear the ringing in my ears, like I read about.
It could be.
And more people, sensitive people are more sensitive to these things. And all of a sudden we're kind of like, Mandela effect here. I mean, it's all connected,
Yeah, absolutely.
And, it's just kind of strange. Just throwing it out there. And that's what we do. We just throwing out an opinion, not saying this is what it is or this is not what it is. It could be perfectly explainable. It could be just a harmless drug runner to Canada that's taking whatever Canadians take.
Right.
I can't imagine it would be anything bad, and it's just, maybe someday we'll figure out what it's all about.
Maybe. I should take offense to your Canadian jokes now.
Yes, since you found out that you're like half French Canadian. I mean,
that's why I'm so nice.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
It very well could be.
All right. Well, anyway, very strange story. I know I'll put the link up to this article. It's got all kinds of cool links in it for all the things you can go see and listen to. And I think whoever wrote that article is still actually filing Freedom of Information Act.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, to get more information on it. They're not giving up. Okay, so let's go on to our next story. This is going to be my favorite story. I love this one.
Oh, God, I know which one it is.
This is the story about the man who was about to launch himself in his homemade rocket to prove that the Earth is flat.
Okay, the time that you guys are listening to this or the time that this has just been uploaded, it will be the day that this is happening. So it's happening to us this coming Saturday, but this should be the day that it's uploaded. So,
well, supposedly he is seeking to prove that the Earth is flat, and he intends to launch himself 1,800 feet high on Saturday in a rocket that he built from scrap metal.
Right.
Okay. And it's a 500 mile per hour, mile long flight through the Mojave deserts. That just sounds dangerous. All right. So they did an interview. 61-year-old limousine driver. His name is Mike Hughead. Hughes.
That's a
typo.
Common mistake.
I apologize. He hopes to photograph proof above the disc that we all live on, that it's not a sphere. And when he was doing his interview, he even said that he was going to be launched into the Atmos flat.
Dear God.
Not the atmosphere, the Atmos flat. And he built this rocket all by himself. Scrap metal.
With the help of Kyrie Irving.
He even painted Research Flat Earth on it,
Of course he did.
And made it look all good. Now, if he wants to believe the earth is flat, we don't tell people what to think and what not to think. And if there are people out there that's their belief, you know what? Great. If we've happened to find out one day that the earth is flat, I'll be like, oh, hey, you were right.
Yeah.
I was wrong.
And we never persecuted you.
Yeah. And we never talk. Here's the reason that I'm kind of laughing at this guy, and just follow me on this. So he's actually kind of a garage engineer, like he does
like
things.
Tim Clark.
Yeah, he tinkers in his garage, and he actually has been trying to build a rocket for some time.
Right.
And he even put videos on YouTube back in like 2012, showing different steam-powered rockets. His rocket's steam-powered rockets that he made. I'm sorry. I'm not laughing. And he even had a Kickstarter campaign in 2016 called From Garage to Outer Space. And he wanted
I'm laughing.
He tried to raise $150,000. He raised $310. Okay, so
it's your fault, people.
When
this guy dies, it's your fault for $310.
None of those things that he was doing, none of those things mentioned flat Earth. None of them mentioned any kind of conspiracy theories or Illuminati astronauts.
So he didn't get funded,
the moon landing.
And he decided to do the flat Earth thing.
Right. So one day he called into a web show, a flat Earth community web show, and he announced that he had become a recent convert. Now, I'm not saying that he hadn't become a recent convert. Maybe he has. I will mention that his first rocket, he did do a rocket flight attempt. It was about a quarter of a mile, and he about died. He was on a walker for 6 months after he did that. But all of that technology is based on the Earth being round,
right?
When you're flying in a rocket. But he called into this web show. He said, I'm a believer in the flat Earth. I've been researching it for several months. And they talked conspiracy theories and, like I said, Illuminati astronauts, fake moon landing, the whole thing. And after, about 30 minutes or so, the host sounded impressed. He'd flown in a rocket before and he builds rockets and he believed that the astronauts were just actors. And so the host was like, hey, we need to back this guy. We need to, give to his campaign. Let's get him up there. Let's let him figure out if the Earth's flat. So he started a GoFundMe and they raised $8,000. So all of a sudden now he has funding from the flat Earth community. So he actually put Research Flat Earth on the side, and he claims that he's going to take pictures when he gets up there to prove, that the Earth is flat. So whether he really, really believes that or not, who's to say? Maybe he does.
Yeah.
Maybe he does.
So he's going to launch it on Saturday.
Yes.
Do you even care about weather conditions when you're launching a bunch of spare parts?
In the Mojave Desert, I'm sure.
It's hot and clear.
It's hot and clear, yeah. But the thing about it is he's not going to be able to test it beforehand.
No.
And his last flight, like I said, it didn't really go that well. There was supposedly some YouTube video of them pulling him out of the wreckage.
So how do you think this guy's life insurance agent acts?
I'm pretty sure he probably doesn't have life insurance.
Really? Does that fall under stupidity or?
I have no idea.
All right. So I'm not calling the guy stupid. I'm saying the act could be stupidity. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying the Earth is not flat.
Right.
I am saying that I don't believe the Earth is flat.
Right.
I believe that we did moon missions. I do. Mm-hmm. I just do. Although there's strange things about it, and this will circle back around to the flat Earth thing. Mm-hmm. The strange things is, why do we not do them now? Why did we stop? Mm-hmm. Why have we not went beyond low Earth orbit since then? Mm-hmm. When we did this in the late 60s, in the early 70s, it's always been a bit odd to me.
Right.
Why we would have stopped that. Did we find something? Did we never stop it? That would be more what I thought, that we found something we needed to mine there that was precious, which we know. Did we find out it was hollow? Did we find out it was a spaceship? Did we see civilization clues that they knew with our technology they couldn't keep going on and hiding from us, that there was pyramids there, that there was things there? That seems more plausible to me.
Right.
And people usually point to it being fake because they say, well, look how the astronauts shut up after they came back. Look at, especially like some of the press conferences right after they got back, they're visibly shaken. They're visibly not there.
Right.
And it did seem to affect a lot of the astronauts. The ones who would talk, they ended up believing in UFOs and talking about that and, and what have you.
Right.
Or becoming alcoholics. There's been a lot of weird with the space program.
Right, I agree.
And with the people that went to space. Street Cap 1, who I have praised on here before for some of his ISS footage. It's a YouTube channel. His name's Street Cap 1, if you want to look him up. This past week, he made news. He hit the actual rounds of like the Fox News and this and that with little short stories about finally finding a picture that he thinks was from the final Apollo mission to the moon, that he thinks where a stagehand was caught in the reflector of an astronaut's helmet.
I saw that story. I didn't realize that was him.
I saw that and I looked at the picture, and yeah, it didn't look like an astronaut. It looked like the Bumble, which I think is more frightening that the Bumble was there. But it was an astronaut. I mean,
it was a reflection in a helmet. Of course, it's going to be distorted.
It was an astronaut and or the Bumble, and either way, they should belong on the moon. And
a moon Bumble.
The pictures have changed. I've seen like some of this flat Earth proof. Hey, the picture looks different here, and yeah, it does. When we fly over Antarctica, they always cover it up. Historically, they always cover it up because people say there's a hole there that goes to there's a lot of mysteries out here, folks. I'm not saying one way or another. It could be flat. I don't know. It seems that it is absolutely round. And just being on planes myself, when I see the horizon, I have noticed since I was a child that it looks like the rounding of the horizon. When you stand on a beach and you look out, it just seems that way. But especially in a plane, you kind of see that stuff. And it just makes sense just from, boy, what a load of crap they would have to do to figure out the moon and figure out the stars and all this stuff.
Right.
It just seems silly to me. But I am definitely not downing anyone who believes this, because possibly you've seen something that I haven't, or you believe something that I haven't, and that is perfectly your right. This, however, is incredibly dangerous, and I really am scared for the safety of this guy.
Yeah, me too, especially since his last launch didn't go so well, and it was only a quarter of the distance of this one.
And I had no idea that, okay, if I go try jumping off a bridge, which I've done before for fun with my friends,
right,
they arrest you,
right,
for like suicide or doing something stupid. I mean, they arrest you for that,
right.
I cannot believe they will let you use spare parts and steam and blast into the atmosphere. I
mean, I don't know what kind of permits you have to get for that kind of thing. I mean, I suppose there's not a lot of air traffic over the Mojave Desert. I don't know. It does say in this article that he has a Guinness World Record back in 2002 for a limousine jump, because he's a limousine driver. Although he may have lost his job after he jumped the limousine. I'm not sure. And he has built other rockets, so it's definitely a passion for him. But he's the first to admit that he has a lot to learn about rocket science still. Like, he's not the best scientist.
Right.
So I don't really know. He did say that if it was a success, that he promised his backers an even riskier launch within the next year, hopefully, possibly floating a balloon up to 20,000 feet and then using his rocket to get higher up.
Holy cow.
Yeah, that just, I don't know. I'm so concerned for this man.
Yeah. I mean,
so concerned.
We laugh about it, but then I seen some hateful things on social media that kind of bother me, like this guy deserves to die and all this stuff.
No, of course not.
Nobody
he's just
deserves
following
to die.
His passion. This is obviously not just a whim either. He's been doing this for a long time, and it really is his passion. I'm just concerned that he's not taking his safety into consideration.
I can tell you this much. Here you go. If the earth is actually flat, this guy will not probably make it to Saturday for people that are trying to keep that secret.
Right.
I mean, if it's round, they're gonna let him fly into wherever hell he wants to fly.
Right.
But he wouldn't have made it this far.
No, that's true. All right. Well, anyway, maybe we'll have an update on the next show for that. I am not sure. I'm going to be looking for it.
We're going to update you. We'll definitely update you. It'll either be sad or we can laugh at that point.
Okay. All right. So let's go on to this next story. And this is kind of an interesting story just about some discoveries near an Egyptian port about some ancient Roman shipwrecks.
Very cool.
And I just thought this was a really cool story. Not technically paranormal, but pretty awesome anyway.
Some cool pictures too.
So some archaeologists in Egypt have discovered 3 Roman era shipwrecks and other like ancient artifacts on the seafloor, the Mediterranean seafloor off the coast of Alexandria. So the report said that the discoveries were made in Alexandria's eastern harbor. And some of the stuff they found like a royal head, quote, royal head carved from crystal that they think may depict the famous Roman general Marcus Antonius.
That's amazing.
Mark Antony.
Yeah.
And some gold coins dating back to the time of the Emperor Augustus.
Wow.
I mean, just crazy, crazy stuff. So they found a whole bunch. I think they even believe that there's another shipwreck to be found because they found some planks and some other pottery and things. So they're still looking around, doing some more excavating. But these particular finds are actually just the latest discoveries. Like they've been discovering tons of stuff in Egypt,
right? Like
this year.
Yeah.
And for like example, they recently unearthed an ancient gymnasium that supposedly dates back to the 3rd century BC. And they found, like in September, the discovery of an ancient temple belonging to King Ramses II. And supposedly in August, they said that they unearthed 3 tombs from an ancient, quote, great cemetery in the Nile Valley. I mean, just thing after thing after thing, all in Egypt. And we talked about the whole pyramid void thing that supposedly was just discovered. And even back in June, they announced the discovery of the earliest known billboard-sized hieroglyphics.
Right.
So it's really strange that all of a sudden they're just finding all these crazy old things in Egypt. And
so either they knew about them and were sitting on them and needed tourism updated.
They do need some tourism there. They do. But I know that this latest find, these shipwrecks, there's great pictures, like you said, on the article. I'm going to link to the article. And the stuff is really, really awesome.
It's cool. You know, I believe things are found on purpose. Like I believe that things, you know, like in that gutter last year, all of a sudden they found this statue that had been under this trash heap forever. Like they had no idea, you know. Oh,
yeah. And there was one where the water level went down. All of a sudden there's a huge Buddha and all kinds of crazy stuff.
I believe that these things happen and it's something going on in the world right now that, you know, we're finding these things. It's just, it's amazing. If you could just go to Egypt and do what you wanted, you know, we're going to put it back. It'll be fine. It bothers me so bad that these great, incredible structures are there and we aren't trying to find our history because we probably know our history already.
Right.
And somebody does.
Somebody knows it. And doesn't want everybody to know it.
They don't want us to know everything, which goes back to us being around with high technology more than once and up, down, up, down, up, down. And, you know, it's just really awesome. These are just awesome discoveries. These are within our timeline, but just amazing the level of detail and everything that's still there with these discoveries. And it's just a big crystal skull. I mean, call Indiana Jones and give him another shot at a good movie. I mean, it's just very cool, man.
Well, actual gold coins dating back to old. I mean, gosh, that's crazy.
It is amazing what the treasure trove of bounty that's just right under your feet over there. And, you know, I would love just to see a progression of let's really figure this out. Let's not worry about, this and that. Let's go in and try to discover this, these things and unravel these mysteries. Why does it have to be the fringe scientist, the renegade archaeologists that are the only ones that are noticing the absolute obvious things about the Sphinx or about the Great Pyramids or, any of this? Why does it have to be that? Why can they not just tell us, right, exactly what's going on? Because it's been a huge cover up. That's why there's a huge cover up. And when do we have cover ups? When they're withholding information they don't want us to know. Exactly. You don't cover up something for no reason. And there's obvious cover up in Egypt. If you can look in and study this for 20 minutes and you're going to find enough to rationally think, okay, they're covering something up. and the big question with all this is why, right? Right. So we've had story after story after story today that all involve something that, unless we really live in a world where we fly blind. Right. And everybody's stupid above us that have the clearance and have the technology to do this stuff, or somebody's telling them, absolutely, somebody in a black room somewhere is telling them, do not pursue this, but still, yes, somebody knows. And it's just crazy. This is wonderful. I love seeing all these discoveries. Maybe we're progressing there with that. And that's awesome. Or maybe there's a reason. Maybe it's time. Maybe it's time.
That'd be nice.
Very cool.
All right. So let's go on to our last few stories. So this next one's sort of just a more information on a story we've already done. And that's the one that we did last time about the first interstellar visitor. Remember the...
Oh, yes.
Yes. And actually NASA had put out a whole post and talked about all this information that they had, the new data about this interstellar object. Right. And what they said was that it appears to be a rocky, cigar-shaped object with a somewhat reddish hue.
Did you find it odd that they used cigar-shaped in the description?
Yes, a little bit. And when I was looking at the article, there is this great picture on there, but that's not actually a photograph of this thing. It was just sort of like an artist rendering.
The artist rendering. I would like to find an artist that renders all these things because he does a really nice job.
Really does. But yes, they did say it was a cigar-shaped object with a somewhat reddish hue, and that they are claiming that it's been wandering through the Milky Way unattached to any star system,
which is so strange,
for hundreds of millions of years.
Right.
And it just happened to swing through our little part of the sky.
It's very strange that it's not attached to any kind of solar, that it's just
it's just randomly floating out there.
It's a craft.
Do you think?
I do. And I think it's strange that they use cigar-shaped because obviously there's been these gigantic cigar-shaped ships that have been seen near our sun or seen in our, by amateur, astrologers and stuff, has been spotted, and UFO enthusiasts have spotted cigar shapes for eons now. It just makes me think that maybe this was a gigantic cigar shaped.
Well, it says it's up to a 1/4 mile long, and it's very highly elongated, perhaps 10 times long as it is wide. So that's what gives it that cigar shape.
What's weird is that it's not round.
It is weird. And NASA even said that for decades they've theorized that such objects existed, but that they hadn't actually had any direct evidence until now. Yeah. So I thought that was a little strange, but I don't know why they would theorize something like that existed. But.
Well, our technology is much greater by the day.
It is.
So possibly this could come every few years or something, and we don't know it, it could totally be something natural. Obviously, it could be something natural that we just have never seen before, we didn't understand. But at the same time, it is very peculiar and interesting.
It is. And they tracked it with ground-based telescopes as long as they could. And they've got the Hubble and the Spitzer tracking it as it's traveling away. And I think they're saying that it passed Mars's orbit around November 1st. It'll pass Jupiter's about May of next year. And then in 2019, it'll be past Saturn's orbit. So it's taking its time to get out. It's not like it's zipping out of here. That's what they're saying, that's how it's leaving our solar system, and it's heading towards the constellation Pegasus.
It's probably like a interstellar tour bus. It's just like, hey, you want to see Earth?
Either that or the thing just zipped out of here and they don't want to say that. Like,
Yeah.
oh, it was there. And then it was like, bye. And left.
I don't know. It's cool. And hopefully they'll get some more updates on it. It's funny that they have our top satellites looking at this thing.
Yeah.
That this rock.
Yes, this strange rocky just thing.
Yeah. I mean, what more are they going to learn from it? Why are they still studying it?
Right.
I don't know. It's neat.
All right. So let's go on to this next story. And it's another kind of update to a story we did a while back.
We should have like an update theme song.
We should, but we don't.
And like, here's the update. Here's the update. Another update from Stacy. I don't know. That's
I'm
really
going to make
bad.
you sing that every time I do an update now.
No, that's not a good one.
Okay, so this is about METI.
Oh, God.
METI, kind of like SETI, but with an M.
Yeah.
METI stands for Messaging Extraterrestrial Intelligence International. That's too many eyes. That's not right.
It's another guy sitting in another room by himself. Mm-hmm. Gets really late. Playing golf.
A while back, we talked about how they were planning on sending messages to a nearby planet
Yes.
that supposedly could possibly host life in the hopes of getting a response.
Right.
So last month, they actually did beam a message. And they beamed it to a red dwarf star. It's known as Luyten's star. It's about 12 light years away from Earth. So it's one of the closer ones. And they sent a message that included scientific and mathematical equations.
Emojis.
Sort of thing. Yeah, emojis. And about 33 short musical compositions. And they messaged it out in binary code.
What would you send? If you had to send, let's say you had to send some music and you had to send a movie. Mm-hmm. So one song, one movie, one book, and a picture, one picture of our achievement, like of man's achievement, a piece of architecture or something.
Oh, I don't know. If I had to send, I have no idea what song I would send because I don't know.
Would you send something classical?
What would probably something classical
for the mathematics of it?
Yeah, probably something very intricate and classical, something like that.
You played music in a band. I performed music differently and vocally.
Yeah, I wouldn't send any kind of like rock music or pop music or anything. It would definitely have to be something very classical. As far as movies go, I have no idea. There isn't a movie that really shows what life's really like.
Right.
I mean, I guess maybe like a documentary. Home movies? Maybe some home movies.
Like, you don't want to send them Star Wars.
Right, exactly.
I mean, they might get the wrong idea.
Oh, we could send them E.T. Oh, no, wait, maybe not.
No.
There's bad things that happen.
We don't treat E.T. very well.
That's not a good idea. And then I would probably just send them a picture of like NASA and our rocket ships so they get a good laugh.
Right. No, I got you.
Oh, look at the babies.
And I guess they wouldn't be able to read our language, so possibly just something explaining our language and how,
they sent this message in binary code.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a universal language, I suppose.
Right. So maybe the Bible, maybe.
Maybe not.
See what they say about it.
Well, they sent their message out in binary code at 2 different radio frequencies back in October, and they used a 105-foot wide radio antenna in Norway. It's called the European Incoherent Scatter Scientific Association radio antenna.
It has the word incoherent in it?
It does, and scatter. Yes, because I guess it sends stuff. I'm not sure. So they sent this, and now they have to wait for a response. And they were interviewing one of the gentlemen.
I can just
from
keep seeing,
METI.
they keep checking their phone to see if they got the response back.
Well, no, that's the thing. They were interviewing the president of METI, and he basically was saying that what they've done is just a prototype for what he thinks they will most likely need to do like 100 more times or 1,000 more times, like just over and over and over again.
That's somebody that wants their job to stay around.
And he said to him, the big success for the project will come if 25 years from now, someone actually remembers to look for a response. He said, if we could accomplish that, that would be great. So it's going to take 25 years before you could even get a possible response.
But not necessarily. So, I guess that means they're thinking that it's going to take,
12 and a half.
12 and a half, 13 years to get there. We could get a response the next day. I mean, we don't know.
Yeah, if they have better technology.
If somebody gets it on the way.
Or it could take 30 years because maybe they don't know what to send back. Maybe they're sitting there trying to figure out what kind of movie and picture and song to send back.
Right.
And they're like, no, not that one. We killed the humans in that movie. Don't send them that one.
And then they send us something that sounds just like Smells Like Teen Spirit. And it freaks us all out.
And we stopped talking to them. But I just sort of wanted to update that. I thought it was kind of funny, his little comment there about remembering to.
Oh, yeah.
So it's been done. They sent the message.
I like the tongue-in-cheek nature of it.
Hopefully, I think his goal is that he does definitely want to try and keep sending more things over and over and over again. So that 25 years from now, maybe we get a bunch of responses, or maybe the aliens show up and tell us to shut up.
We're going to get like an alien crotch pick sent back. Be like, this is how we communicate. I can't believe you humans are so far behind.
But we're not. Don't you remember the alien on Reddit that came and everybody just, asked him about
sex?
Yeah.
It's so ridiculous. And that's really what we are. Exactly. We are so, we are barely evolved above just beating it beside the tree in the front yard. I mean, we think we're hot stuff.
Right.
We really do. And that's the funny thing. People put on these appearances, right? And humans are funny. we are a funny species, okay? We pretend to be, everything we do is this big facade. Like this, like so much of what we present to the outside world is fake.
Right.
And even when you're, watching a reality show, it's so far from reality of what you're seeing that it's terrifying. So nobody's really honest with themselves enough to be honest with other people.
Right.
And it's just so funny to me as a species. We all worry about the same things. We all have the same insecurities. We all have the same base desires. We all do the same things. We all have those little private moments of things we don't tell people that we do, or we pick our freaking ear and look at it, and but out in public, we're this different person, or we're this very important person, that is always this one certain way, and maybe that person that controls this big company goes home and binges SpongeBob. You know what I mean? Like it intrigues me. Just from my study of human nature,
right?
The two different sides that people have. That's why, like me, when I am at my job, right, I shock a lot of people because I'm very open, I'm very forward, and I'm not usually in a good mood. Right, that's just who I am. I don't want to say stupid people, but stupidity, again, I'll use that word, annoys the crap out of me. Right. Be people that are people that slack at doing things that that annoys me as well, and pretend to do more than they are, or they slack and pretend they didn't know that they were supposed to be doing it differently. Right, exactly. That used to annoy me at work. But I'm very honest with people. Like I even I talk about things that if I hear somebody talking about UFOs or something, I'll jump right in there and be human, and I try to connect with people on a human level, because I think we should all do more of that. We should all be very open with our feelings, a lot more than we are. Not in that snowflake era. Wow, you're bothering me, or you're in my space, but just being open more with, hey, dude, you're annoying the crap out of me. Could you stop talking? Instead of having to listen to the whole conversation. Right. I am that person. I do it all the time. Like people have laughed at it over the years in that work environment. I could think of many people that I've worked with that have just loved me to death because somebody will be talking and I'll be like, could you just stop? Like, I'm really not interested in what you're saying. I apologize that's how I feel, but but why waste your breath? Exactly. Right. All right. Well, I have one more story. Okay. And this one's just sort of a fun story. And this is about an ad that popped up on Facebook recently. It was a for sale ad in New Mexico that someone posted out of Santa Fe offering to sell a used coffin. Oh. And the ad said it was a slightly used coffin.
only used once and in decent shape, and it could be yours for only $50. And there were some pictures. And there's a picture of it open. It had a little discoloration on the inside.
Oh, that's nasty.
And it's like silver. It looked a little beat up on the outside, but it really made some people upset. They were like, that's terrible. How can you sell that? And so apparently the person that posted it came back and claimed that it was just a joke, that they just wanted to see what kind of comments they would get, because posting the ad for the coffin was just a joke. But the article did point out that according to a state statute, it is not illegal to sell a used coffin. The person selling it just has to tell the buyer that it's used, and the buyer has to sign some paperwork acknowledging that it's pre-owned. So here's my question. I mean, do you see where this is going?
Yeah.
In what situation do you have a used coffin?
Okay, so maybe somebody is going to be incinerated.
Right.
It's a John Doe, a Jane Doe, and they have some sort of ceremony for them, but maybe they have coffins at some of these places that they have for the funeral home, but then they are actually wanting to be, or they have a service.
So you're saying they go through all the trouble to embalm the body for the service, but then they still cremate it?
Yeah. Now, I don't know enough about it to know, do they embalm them? They don't embalm them if they're going to cremate them.
No, normally if they're cremated, they're cremated.
Okay, so I don't know. It's very creepy for whatever reason. The whole, there's a whole big stigma there. It's death.
Right.
But coffins, being around a coffin, in a room with a coffin, funeral homes, as we have discovered over the past year, I don't like it. It freaks me out. I don't like it at all. Again, it just creeps me out even thinking about it. But we have a friend that owns a funeral home, and he totally took us right in the freezer like it was no big deal. Yeah.
And he was like, let me give you a tour of the funeral home. Yeah. That's not what I expected.
Oh my God. And I can't shake it. Like I can still see.
Oh yeah. I have the full on, vision of it, the whole thing. Yeah. So this I thought it was funny. I don't know if the poster really meant it as a joke, or if they're really just trying to make $50.
No, they're only trying to cover up.
And they're just trying to cover up.
It sounds like a grave robber to me.
I mean, you can only clean up a coffin so much, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
The slight discoloration.
Yeah.
Just the way you say slight discoloration, it just sounds disgusting.
I mean, it could only be worse if I said it was moist.
Yeah. Moist is not an appropriate word in any context. It's
should not use that word ever.
I mean, I can't think of anywhere that I even like to hear that word. It's just one of those words that is not, I don't like the word. It's just, I don't even in that situation, in even like a date situation, I don't think I could do anything with a girl, even if she used that word in what you would consider a good situation.
Right.
There's
like, no. To me, it makes me think of like mold and like terrible things.
Like maybe you ran too far before we went out.
Like or you left the bread out or something. And it got
no, it's okay. I am good. No need for moist.
Exactly.
So
I don't know. It was kind of a funny story. There'll be a link for it if you want to go take a look at the pictures. And if you need a good used coffin for whatever reason.
There you go, kids.
But there you go. So that's all my news.
And thank you very much. Very, very choice, not moist. Well, all right, there you go. And stellar news minus that last story.
I had to throw one in there.
Yeah, a lot of news that we had to expand on and talk about. Mysterious booms. Whenever you can go from the boom to the moist, it's it's a hell of a show. ParanormalSideshow.com, that's your address to go find everything moist. Facebook.com/Paranormal Sideshow, quite a bit of moistness. On the Twitter, it's at Sideshow97. Occasionally, there will be a moist pic flow up. Instagram, Hot Moist Damn, it's John and Stacey Edwards. On YouTube.com/Paranormal Sideshow, that's where you see the moistest blog that's ever been made in the entire world. Guaranteed 100% moistness on that one. And as I said earlier, however you're listening right now, please leave a review. Please subscribe or follow or like, share, tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell anybody you can, and please spread the word on the show. We appreciate it. We love you so much. We're available now on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, and Spotify. So hopefully, however you're listening, you let people know, and definitely subscribe and follow, so you don't have to look for us or know when a new episode's up, because it'll just come right to you. For my lovely wife Stacy, my name's John, and so long from the Sideshow.
Good night.